This episode is brought to you by Superpower, and we are a paid partner. We earn a commission when you sign up through our link at partners.superpower.com/MATRX. Our typical annual physical measures 10 to 20 biomarkers. Superpower measures over 100 from a single blood draw for $199 a year. The concierge version of this costs $15,000. Same depth of data, fraction of the cost. You get a personalized action plan built on your actual biomarkers plus 24/7 access to a care team in the app. Go to partners.superpower.com/MATRX and get your $20 discount, which applies automatically at checkout. Link in the show notes. Everyone sees the brand.
But nobody sees the bills.
I'm Cindy.
And I'm Justin. And this is the Matrix Method.
All right. Welcome to the Matrix Method. I am Cindy here with Justin Parchman and our special
guys.
guest, Dan Grams.
Hi.
Dan is the founder of Ecom Strategics. He has a background as a network engineer for Excite.com. He pivoted to marketing e-commerce, then went to Skin Better Science. He was the director of e-commerce. He was there through the transition to L'Oreal. Now he specializes in building e-commerce organizations using the latest in AI technology. So we're going to talk today about what the future of e-commerce looks like. Welcome, Dan.
Hi, thanks for having me, Cindy and Justin.
All right. I know Justin always has lots of great questions prepared. So I'm going to hand it over to you now, Justin.
Awesome. Thanks, Cindy. So, Dan, we're getting to know you a little bit before this show, talking about how things have evolved, right? The companies have spent so much effort optimizing for SEO, right? That's always been the name of the game for the last, 20, 30 years. But now we've got rapidly growing AI tools. So tell us a little bit about what you're doing now and what companies need to do to maintain their edge and be competitive in this space.
Absolutely. Well, the first thing is search hasn't died. It's just really expanded. People still type queries, but now they're also asking ChatGPT and Perplexity and Gemini and Claude and Google AI mode. And the answers show up there before they show up as a blue link. And a lot of users never click through. So the job has kind of changed. The old job was to rank a page and earn a click. Now the new job is to rank a page, earn a click, and also get cited, quoted, and recommended inside AI answers when somebody asks about your category, your product, or a problem that you solve.
One of the things I've been thinking about, so obviously companies have to kind of get on this if they're not already, right? What does that look like? If you have a smaller company, could you theoretically leapfrog some of the others that are behind? Like if you optimize now for Claude search or Perplexity, would that give you an edge over someone who's like really optimized on just plain Google?
Yeah, 100%. About 68% of the traffic now isn't actually going to the website. So if you can get recommended by the AI agent or show up in the Google answer block, you're definitely ahead of your competition. And most people aren't really on it yet. They're thinking about, we really need to keep focused on SEO. That's really the core fundamental that we've always known. But three things have changed. The results page has changed. AI overviews are now right at the top. There's AI mode and chat answers that are sitting above the traditional 10 blue links. So a majority of searches and without a click to anyone's site. And then second, the audience has changed. People are asking ChatGPT, Perplexity, and Gemini the same questions they used to type into Google. And Gen Z especially is starting in the chatbot. And third, the goals changed. It's no longer just a rank and a click. It's rank, get cited, get summarized, get recommended. And traditional SEO isn't dead. It's the foundation. But on top of that, now you have AEO optimizing to be the answer and GEO optimizing to be the source generative engines pull from. And the brands that are going to win in 2026 are the ones that are clear, structured, authoritative, and consistently useful, because that's what both Google and the LLMs reward.
That makes sense. Might as well start doing that. We have
Yeah,
literally
exactly.
hundreds of listeners, I think. But I don't know, maybe once we optimize for AEO and GEO, which is really interesting. Because maybe let's pick back up here. So you're saying, Cindy, that like you use Claude every day. Like I think too, like I don't want to give away your secrets, right? But like people like us, I mean, I'm getting asked all the time, what's your secret? First of all, why are you so successful? And which AIs are you using? And I say, I guess I'm already in the Gen Z space where I go straight to the bot now. Like, I don't Google anything anymore. So I'm kind of wondering, Dan, like, should I be still Googling some things or have we all moved on?
A lot of us have moved on. I'm the same as you. I go straight to Claude, or I have an agent that I use that talks to all of the LLMs. So, yeah, as far as using Google, I usually only check Google when I'm working with a client to see where they rank because we're still a minority. There's still definitely a lot of people who are just used to using Google. I know my mom still goes to Google when she's searching for things, and the older generation still uses the tools that they're familiar with. But as it evolves, more and more people are starting to, again, say, you know what? I don't have time to scroll through 2 or 3 pages of Google search results. I want to get the answer now. And we're all in that just Amazon mindset of if I order it, I want it today or tomorrow, not I'm willing to wait. So yeah, we've all just been just rewarded with just immediate gratification. And that's what the LLMs are providing for us. We don't have to dig through, we don't have to do as much work. So that frees us up for other things. But yeah, it's definitely where a lot of consumers are getting lost from the message from a lot of companies that have great websites and great product pages, but they're just, again, being lost in the shuffle with the people who have more optimized for AI agents to recommend them.
It's almost like Google is now the Facebook of social, where it's kind of like it's the baby boomers and older,
Yes.
who are using it.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And I do see that it's easy because it's not as I mean, like Chat GPT, asking it a question and having it come up with information, it just seems so easy, but there's so much more that AI can do because it can actually build, it can actually create, it can actually, like you said, be your agent. I know we use it for we have several different programs that we use that have agents like, with our emails, it drafts their emails, it can schedule, it can find emails. So we have a virtual executive assistant that I can say, hey, look for the email from this company. There's an attachment, create an email and attach that attachment and send it to so and so. And it would actually draft it and it would sit in my Outlook and I have to just go back and, double check and send it. So it's super convenient, but I know that most people don't realize or know how to do that. So it's like everyone's jumping on the AI train and they're like, oh, AI is great. It's like, well, what do you use it for? Oh, I use ChatGPT like every day. Okay. That's like just the tip of it. So,
Basic.
I know that. Yeah. And so, Dan, like, how would a person like you and your background, how do you help businesses in optimizing their company or their product so that they are competitive in this new space?
First, I try to get into the business and talk to their customer service reps and talk to their salespeople and talk to their e-commerce team and their marketing team and say, what are the tasks that you're doing just regularly right now? What reports are you building that we could turn into a cron job that would automatically make the LLM go out and do that work for you rather than you having to prompt it every time? So that way you can kind of free up your time and just get the email into your inbox. And what kind of heartbeats can we set up to look at that inbox and say, this is something that's important that we need to get on right now, or this is something that we need to take right from the inbox and put on the calendar, and try to get rid of as much of the human friction as you can to free the humans up to actually do the meaningful work, to have those interactions with the customers, to have that just really good FaceTime with people where then the just routine, just rote tasks are just taken care of by the machines. So yeah, it really is a total game changer for most companies to go in there and turn something into a force multiplier for them, where they can have a team of 10 now operating like a team of 40. And it's not about eliminating jobs at these companies. It's about making people more effective and getting their sales up by, again, having people use their time more effectively than doing just routine things like checking their email and just waiting for things to come in. I'd rather be notified when something comes in that's important rather than having to dig through a million spam messages to find it.
Hmm. So I have heard about companies that have laid off or fired or whatever, gotten rid of like their customer service departments. And then 6 months later, hire them back, right?
That's right.
Like they put in a program and they're like, oh, this is going to be great. And then they realize there's so much that is beyond just answering questions. And do you think AI is there yet where it can replace that communication? Because I know for me, if I call customer service, it's usually a situation that I did not find that answer to online. And I need to explain my specific situation and what's going on and what I'm looking for. So I need to talk to somebody who can understand that. And like, how do you see that world or the future of customer service?
That's exactly right. The human element still has to exist. I really hate when I call in and get a AI voice prompt on a customer service line and it doesn't understand half of what I'm saying because it's going through a phone line and it's trying to do voice to text and then text back to voice and it just doesn't work. But what I don't mind is when I call into a customer service rep that has an AI tool that's sitting kind of silently on the side that they can type into and get the answers quickly based on just the information that they have internally, that maybe they don't want to share everything that is in their whole database of all of their customer interactions. But that customer service agent can look through it and say, okay, this is something that's similar to what this customer is going through, and I can help them better and faster and just be a more educated employee and represent my brand better. So, yeah, you're absolutely right. It's a huge mistake to try to eliminate people, but the real power is empowering the people, giving them the tools that they need to
Right.
do their job better. And the more employees that embrace that, the better any company will do. That's the real key for thriving in 2026.
Right. It's like, when you think about it, have you guys ever read The Future's Faster Than You Think? I forget the author.
Mm-mm.
I just great book recommendation. And actually it might even be outdated at this point. It came out in like 2011 maybe or 2014. I don't remember what it was, but it talked about these massive shifts in technology where, like 100 years ago or longer, everyone was in horse-drawn carriages and the Teamsters were freaked out, right? When Ford came up with the ability to make thousands of cars for cheap, and now everyone can all of a sudden drive the bus themselves, right? And that's part of where we got like Teamsters unions and things like that, and that moved on to other things. But the point is, we're all becoming drivers, right? Like you're now empowered by this kind of technology, but you do have to learn how to drive a little bit. Like you do have to know what
Yeah.
you have to learn with it. You have to learn which tools are working for what. Right? You can't just go, well, my job's screwed, I'm out. Like if you can embrace this stuff, you can, like what were you saying? You said you're now as an engineer 10 times more productive than you were, something like that. Didn't you say something like that earlier?
Absolutely. No, a 40-hour week now is a 4-hour day. And then I have the rest of the time free to do more creative tasks and to think and to try to come up with the new ideas that are moving businesses forward.
That's awesome.
In 2016, I forget the guy who made the observation that, okay, now that AI image reading is so good, we're not going to need radiologists anymore. We don't need people to look at the x-rays. But that hasn't been the case at all. What we've really found is radiology is now the radiologists that have embraced the AI tools are able to do their jobs better. They're
Hmm.
catching things that they normally would miss and they can get through a lot more. But there hasn't been a reduction in need for radiologists. In fact, there's still a need for more than they've ever had. So yeah, it's one of those things where there's a lot of doom and gloom around AI and how it's going to take everybody's jobs, but we haven't reached the point where these AIs are really smarter than people. We really just need good operators for the AI to then empower themselves to, again, be better employees and be more productive. And then everything just improves.
Right. It's like, I mean, it's just accelerating. It's taking the powers we had with technology and just accelerating it.
Yeah.
Like if you back to like the horse and buggy analogy, like that's romantic. Like a horse is cool. I like that. I'm from Texas. Do I have a horse? No. Am I scared of horses? Yes, but I like getting in the car and going 100 miles an hour to El Paso instead of a
Jeez.
week on a horse. You know what I mean? Like, do I want to go back to that? No. You know.
Yeah.
With I had a photo radar ticket and I was like, okay, I'm going to run this through ChatGPT and what do I need to know? And it's like, okay, as long as you avoid service for the first 90 days, they can't do anything to you. So around
What?
it told me it's some flat out wrong information, which I believed, unfortunately. So around
Oh, no.
100 days, I went out to check my mail and this guy in a blue vest is walking up and I thought it was an Amazon delivery. And I was like, hey,
No.
how you doing? And he's all, you've just been served. And I was like, "What? I thought I was outside of the 90-day service window." But really, if you looked at the law and if ChatGPT would have given me the correct answer, it would have been 90 days from the time that they filed it with the courts. So yeah, I got
Wow.
stuck with a photo radar ticket because I believed ChatGPT, and that was the last time that I believed ChatGPT about anything. Now I trust but verify, and I try to
Yes.
use Claude Opus because it seems to be better with legal things than ChatGPT. So yeah, I've been down that road, and I had to show up to court and pay my fine for running a red light. So yeah, 100% you cannot trust ChatGPT.
Yeah, at the end of the day, you'll be the one sitting in that cell, and ChatGPT will be
That's right.
in the cloud. Totally
And the
fine.
language model doesn't care. It'll apologize. Oh, sorry,
Yeah.
my bad.
Sorry,
And
buddy.
it's like,
Duly
hey, come
noted.
on.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, I
I
was gonna
know.
ask you that, like, how do we adjust and, like, avoid those traps? Like, what's your average or what's your advice for the layperson? I think of, like, I use this example on another podcast we did, so forgive me, listeners, but I taught my parents to plan a vacation using ChatGPT, but I told them because I was like, I'm gonna start you with the basics. Like, this is not perfect. It's biased, but it's easy. And you guys are familiar with Google, so it's not like super scary. So I got them to plan a road trip, and I said, but I want you to take that road trip and then also take your atlas. They have like a roadmap atlas, and take regular Google and ask your friends at your destinations, like, does this line up? And so I set them up to say, hey, try this, but verify it too. Like, don't trust it inherently. So what would your advice be for lay people who are using these bots? I mean, are there traps you really need to look out for, or is it like, hey, just be smart? What would you give the standard dummy out there that's just telling their bots everything?
Couple piece of advice on that. What I usually do is I'll use multiple language models. I'll ask one
Mhm.
and then I'll take the answer from that one and give it to a second one and say, "Hey, give me just a sanity check on this. Does this sound
Yeah.
right?" And then I'll say, "Cite your sources. Give me links to any of the things that you're saying, especially when it comes to legal things." I'm working on a project with a client right now for some real estate things, and he's in the state of Florida. And everything that comes up, I want to know exactly where in the law does it say this. Give me a link to some sort of legal reference so I don't look bad when I'm putting this together for you. I want to make sure that we can verify this back, and then I do the work myself. I go and I check those links. I make sure that it's not hallucinating and it's telling me the actual truth. But if you ask it the right questions and you prompt it the right way, you can get things that you can, again, trust, but then verify. Yep.
I do that a lot too. I mean, I'll take something from one, whatever their output is, I'll put it into another one, and I have them evaluate and give me their feedback. Give me, and then I would take that and then throw it into another one.
That's right.
And then eventually you do it so many times that, you start seeing the patterns, and you're like, then you're able to decipher, okay, what is the issue? What do I need to change? Yeah.
And
Does
another
the
piece of advice I'd give is
Yeah.
keeping up on what the best language models are because it changes daily. And if you go to
Mm,
arena.ai, they have a great leaderboard where you can say, what's the best tool for text, or what's the best tool for medical things or legal
mm,
things?
mhm.
And then also, what's the best tool for writing code, and figure out what the best tool for the job is before you just say, this is a one size fits all. I'm going to go to Grok and ask him because he knows everything that's been on X about every topic going on. And it might not be the smartest tool. So watching the leaderboards is pretty important. And then also making benchmarks from your own data and saying, okay, I'm going to ask 4 different things, the same question, and see what works best for my use case.
And where do you go for these user or
Is it
Again,
leaderboard?
Arena?
the leaderboard is arena.ai. And then on the left-hand column, there's a leaderboard. And if you go into the leaderboard, you can kind of hone down to say, what's the best tool for text to image right now? And what's the best tool for video generation? And it breaks them all down and has a leaderboard of probably 30 or 40 different tools that you maybe never heard of. There's so many of these smaller models. And then you can also decide, okay, of these models, which ones are the most expensive to run? Because I'd love to be able to use Opus 4.7 for everything, but that gets really
Mm,
expensive really fast. So I try to figure out, okay, what's the best tool for the job and also the most cost effective for my use case? Because I don't want to build a tool that costs $1,200 that's going to make $600 worth of revenue. So there's just
mm.
a real, it's a balancing act of figuring out what's the best tool, what's the cheapest tool, what makes sense for the job at hand, and then which ones can I use to cross reference to the others. So using leaderboards is a great first start.
Cool. Arena.ai. That's cool.
Oh, I was like, okay, we gotta check that.
On that trust but verify topic, and this circles back to kind of how you're helping companies with, AEO and GEO, right? Like, so when you did like a traditional Google search and you would see those link when it would say sponsored, you have like the blue links that are sponsored results. I haven't, like, you guys have done a lot more AI journeys than I have so far. Does it give you that kind of disclosure? Like when you say, okay, cite your sources, is it like, oh, and by the way, I am paid by Oracle to say blah blah blah. Like, does it do that? Is it honest?
In the answer box, no, but it will tell you where the source came from, but it's not a paid link. So it's honest in the sense that it's trying to give you the best information, but really sometimes it's not the right information because somebody's more optimized for the AEO than their competitor who maybe has a better product. And some of that comes down to on a product detail page, you need to answer questions, not just describe the features. And that's where I see a lot of companies
Mm.
kind of losing out. So if you have, is this good for sensitive skin? Or how long does a bottle last? Or what's the difference between this and X? Those all belong on the product detail page with a good schema and not just buried in a blog somewhere. And that's how you're going to show up, even if you're not the best choice, to that answer block on the top of Google that's now sitting above the ads, even.
Interesting.
So do blogs even generate any do blogs, like, still drive traffic?
They do a couple of things. So blogs will keep your site with some fresh content because that's definitely a trigger for SEO. Having
Mhm.
something new on there every 2 or 4 weeks will still help you. But a lot of it will get kind of devalued as the tools get smarter. And they say, you know what, this person's just putting a wall of words that's all AI generated out
Mm.
once a week. So it's not really that relevant of information and it's not really a value to the consumer. So you still want to make sure you have fresh content, but you have to make sure that fresh content's in the right places. And just again, the same old SEO playbook still apply, but you have to really start thinking a little bit more and having a good FAQ page and having some of that built into the product page and also having the proper schema. So when the crawlers come, they know what information's what, and they're not just looking at a paragraph of text.
And something that I encountered recently is like, so I would have a blog and I would say, pull me a picture to go with this blog. And I didn't, and it wasn't until like, I don't know why I thought about it. I was like, can you double check that these images are not copyrighted and royalty free? And so it did that. And it was like, oh, this image is part of this med spa's website. So it is a copyright. And I was like, whoa, thankfully, I don't know why I thought to check because I didn't realize that it was pulling copyrighted stuff for me to use.
Yeah.
And, like, sometimes, like, the stock pictures are not great, so they're like, "Do you want me to generate AI?" I said, "Yeah," and I just have it generate AI with my image because then it's, like, royalty free, you know? I
100%.
was like, "That's the safest, right? Like, just generate a picture of me," you know? But it was kinda scary. I thought, how many people are using this and pulling pictures, and they're putting it on their website or, maybe putting it on their packaging thinking that it's a safe image to use, not realizing that it was actually being pulled off somebody else's website.
That's right. There's a lot of really good tools out there that you can run the image through to see if it shows up as a copywritten image. And I've done a lot of photography in the past, and I used to use one of those services where I'd upload all of my photos to it, and then it had a web crawler that would go out and see if somebody was using one of my images without having paid me a royalty for it. And I've recovered copyright money because these services go out there and they take about 50% of whatever they recover for you, but that's basically was a free revenue stream for me. I did that more about 10 years ago, but it's still relevant today. Those tools are out there. They're looking for anybody they can make some money from and then pass some money back to the creator. But yeah, it's definitely a very valid concern and something that anytime you are getting ready to put anything into production, you need to verify because, yeah, some of the
Yeah.
generative tools are going to say, okay, this is 90% of this picture. We're going to tweak it a little bit. And here you go, brand new
Uh-huh.
image. But that still falls under copyright. So you have to be very careful.
Wow. I know. I
At
mean,
least
I
at the
don't think a
same
lot of people
time,
realize that.
yeah, that is important. I mean, you almost need like a appliance bot. I mean, it sounds like there is that. Like Cloud Opus, maybe one of these is right, like where you can double
You
check
need
and
a
just go
compliance operator. You still need a human that has those tools, but none of
right,
those tools are going to be something that you could trust. So you, again,
right,
anything that it gives you, you still need that human component to say, all right, I'm going to run all of these images through just a Google image search and see if anything comes back that looks identical to it, even though it's just changed up a little bit by the AI, and make
right,
sure that you're not putting something out there that's going to end in a lawsuit.
right.
Yeah,
Is
well,
there
and that
any
goes back to kind of like the whole thing of it goes back to kind of this whole thing about like having the fundamental knowledge of things, like whatever the subject is. So that way you know when to question AI. Otherwise, if you just accept it, which is what a lot of people now just accept it and they don't question it. And then that's the future then.
Absolutely.
that's
Again,
can get you in
expertise
trouble?
from a human who's lived it is 1,000 times more important than just trusting an AI blindly. And that's where we have to have good operators to these tools to really get the value out of them. Otherwise, they're a liability.
Right.
Yeah.
What is the oversight on all this? This is a very generic and maybe even a dumb question, but like at the end of the day, could you feed these LLMs like just absolute lies all day long so much and like optimize like just total BS to the point where anytime somebody, let's say I'm selling absolute snake oil, it's the worst product ever. It doesn't work for anything. You know, I'm lying out through my teeth about all of it, but we've optimized the heck out of it so that when a patient Googles or a patient asks Claude, what's the best sunscreen? And I'm selling total crap. Is there is there like an accountability? You know how like the SEC looks at like trade frauds and I mean, is there someone looking at this
Mhm.
in the
There is no one
government?
looking at it. There are people manipulating it like crazy. There are people with bot farms of 1,000 Reddit accounts, and they're going
Really?
on
Wow.
Reddit and they're posting content. And they're having their other bots engage with that content, and then that's used as training models for the LLMs. So absolutely, people are polluting it with absolute lies and manipulating it. So that's again why you still need to have somebody who can kind of question and push back on just the answers that it gives because if it doesn't feel right, it probably isn't right.
So, I mean, they already started I mean, people like the bots, right? Like, just the whole bots have created fake influencers
That's
on
right.
social media. People are like, "Oh, I've got 2.4 million followers," and then, like, companies pay them all this money to sell a product and, like, there's nothing. Or they have an event and, like, no one shows up, and it's like, "Oh, your
That's right.
2.4
Yeah.
are all fake."
You talk
That's
to them
right.
and you're like, wait, this person's a moron.
Yeah.
This doesn't right? It doesn't jive. It doesn't pass the old litmus test. But,
Yeah.
it's interesting. I do think that coming back to our industry and, like, how marketing and sales now, it's like, I mean, if I, as a sales rep, had the kind of data that marketing can now deliver to a rep in a modern sales force, like, it's incredible. And then with all this like super fast moving information superhighway, including disinformation and malinformation, well, like as a customer, by the time you then get to a rep that has the proper tool, at that point, like, you're craving a human consultant to kind of tie it up for you and say, here's the information we have, and here's the solution you were looking for. And I'm here with verifiable solutions for you. Like, I do think it does give the human sales rep and the human marketing department like a superpower now, right? To like
Mm-hmm.
have very sophisticated, and maybe you're not, you know, peppering the streets like you were in the past, but the prospects you're getting theoretically could be very well vetted, very well qualified, right? The information, the data that's available on that client has got to be better than what we were, when we
Yeah.
used to take out the yellow pages. I used to like go to like, the territory next door and be like, okay, I'm going to go work, far away city for a while, and like get in the hotel and pull out the yellow pages and be like, plastic surgeons, right?
But the first one you find is AAA plastic surgeon, because they know to be alphabetical on the yellow pages, they could just
Right?
game it by throwing a bunch of A's in front of their brand name. Yeah, that
Yeah, that was like
definitely.
the original.
I remember
That's the
those
original.
Yeah.
days. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's why they're all named like, yeah, double
Gosh.
A, whatever, right? Triple A,
That's right.
Yeah.
A1
Well, the
plumbers.
other thing that's gotten harder for the marketing teams is we used to have better data analytics tools. Universal Analytics with Google used to be so much better and give us so much more information about the demographics of who is clicking on things than GA4. And they hide behind, well, there's GDPR now. We have to protect people's privacy. And really, at the end of the day, I think it's the data brokers are saying, we want to keep some of this stuff more proprietary so we have a valuable commodity to sell. And
Mm.
then creates an interesting situation where you have to kind of adapt and evolve to what is the information that we have that is proprietary? What can we leverage better? And that's where you really have to kind of combine your departments and have your marketing team sit in with the customer service team and go through the emails that they're getting from actual customers and look at the live chat requests and say,
Yeah.
okay, what information do we have that we own and isn't just being kind of filtered out to us through our GA4 reports that now just tell us that, yeah, you got some clicks, but we won't tell you where they came from or who they were because, well, Safari it blocks that now. So this is just the world that we're living in. And there have been other companies that have really done bad things with this data. So we're trying to protect people. So yeah, now it's a matter of adapting, evolving, and figuring out what do you have that's proprietary. And yeah, your customer service agents may be some of your lowest paid employees, but the most valuable source of that one-to-one customer data. So it's still important to keep those people involved with all of the other departments and learn from them and maybe pay them a little bit more because they're providing a hugely valuable service.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, you could theoretically
Man,
take
gosh,
all of your
times have
company's
changed.
internal data. Like, you could take your CRM data, you could take your leads, and maybe that's integrated with your CRM. You could take all your ERP data, you could take all of this and whatever forecasting your reps are doing and all your marketing data, and you could theoretically, right, like if you were like sales admin or a customer service agent, you could then build, a super sales manager that would tell your sales team, be like, here's your route. You're going to go work Cleveland for the week. And then you would have enough data to know, like, I should go to Dr. So and so first because he's engaged with customer service 6 times, right? Like, I mean, companies have the data
Mm.
and like we have the tools now to do this, don't we?
We do. And if you have the budget to actually build a good system that you can run locally that isn't going out to the cloud, because the real danger is there's no protection once all of your company data goes out to Claude or OpenAI. And you
Right.
look at a company like OpenAI, and they're slated to lose $14 billion this year. At some point, they're going to say, you know what, we have all of this data that we've mined from all of these customers, and we'll just say we've anonymized it. And now we can sell it as kind of the playbook to say, this is what we need to do. And that's where the value of trying to say, okay, we're going to use some cloud tools, but we're not going to let our proprietary data out. We're going to make sure we have a good local machine and good local model that can handle this.
Yeah, was it Sam Altman and we could definitely edit this out if I just called somebody out wrongly. But was it Sam who said we're gonna sell all this information back to you someday? I remember like seeing a, a clip or something where he was like, "We're mining all this data. It's like a super knowledge of that everyone's training our LLMs, and we'll sell it back to you." Like, and I was like, "I'm sorry, what?"
I'm not sure if it was Sam Altman who said that, but it would only make sense that they'd be willing to burn as much cash as they're burning right now and operate at a $14 billion a year loss. I mean, that's a
Yeah,
tremendous amount of money to be willing to lose unless you have a longer play in mind. And you have really smart people like Altman or Musk who are out there, and they have to have an end game for all of this data that they're gobbling up right now. And that's why it's more important than ever for companies to try to keep their internal data internal and not let it leak out and just become another commodity for these multi-trillion-dollar businesses that are just going to profit from
right.
all of it at some point.
I could see, this is very like a Lex Luthor kind of move, maybe, or maybe Sam, somebody like that. To be like, okay, now that you guys are fully integrated in these tools and you're fully reliant on these tools every day, it's kind of gotten out of hand though. We're gonna pull the plug, but don't worry, we'll come back online and we'll sell it to you for $10 million a month. I mean, unless you own all your data internally, right? I don't know. It's just kind
Absolutely.
of,
And
I don't know.
again, going back to that, there's kind of a conspiracy theory that ByteDance started up TikTok with 6-second videos because they needed as many 6-second videos as they could to start training just large language models. And then if you look at who has some of the best text to video models out there right now, it's ByteDance. So it really does look like there might have been some truth to that. They were trying to put fake views on things, keep people engaged with their platform, not to have it as a tool for people to communicate, but as an image generation tool for themselves to use to train their language models. So at the end of the day, yeah, I really think that that is a valid concern.
Something to watch for.
Wow. Yeah.
Not something we can really control, but I don't know. Think about it when we're designing systems and electing officials and whatever else we're doing, whatever we can control. Interesting.
Well, we already have AI pop stars out there. At some point, we may have some AI officials, and they look real, they sound real, but yeah, they're just all generated.
No, that scares me
That's
a little bit, to be
crazy.
honest.
That
Absolutely,
is
me
Wait,
so
too.
crazy.
you
Those
know,
are the things that keep me up at night.
right? And you mentioned Grok again. Like, I don't want us to get sued off of ever having to air this episode. We may have to just edit all this out and then put Dan. We'll put all your stuff back in. We're just gonna cut my careless commentaries out of it. I like Twitter. A lot of hit and miss answers from Grok even on the platform where you're like, wait a minute, actually I know that not to be true, right?
Mhm.
But 90% of what I'm reading here in these algorithms is kind of not super testable, maybe, like maybe bogus, but also some truths and some fast moving information that can't be verified yet. Like it's kind of a dangerous place, right?
Well,
Well,
I
you're
think
kind of right.
it's like
Is
these
trained
are
on all
trained.
of the
Yeah.
Grok is trained on all of the X posts, and all of the X posts, as you know, there's a large percentage of them that are just bots that are, again, somebody pushing an agenda. They've got a whole farm of a couple thousand accounts, and then that model's trained on it. So it isn't going to be 100% accurate and human driven. So that's really
Right.
where the risks come in.
Right. It's consolidated. I think what I was trying to get at is like it's a consolidating algorithm of rumors, right? And you can pick some little nuggets of truth in there and you're like, oh, that's an interesting thread. But at the end of the day, like, do I trust this? Heck no. Like, so I don't know. Just thought that needed to
So
be
where
said.
what do you so Dan, like I mean, given your background, and it's great that we even have you on board because you're helping us with a lot that we're doing in, with Matrix. And also for any listeners, he is one of our consultants that you can connect with for you for to help your company. Dan, like, what do you see? What's the like maybe three most important thing that business owners need to understand about AI from today, from
Number
what
one
we know to
is
today?
AI shouldn't replace your employees. Your good employees are still the backbone of your company. But you need to give them the AI tools to empower them to do more for you. And the ones that will embrace it will be your best employees, and they'll drive your brand forward in ways that you never could have possibly imagined. And the second is you really need to stay on top of what are the trends. SEO was, again, incredibly important, but now you need to make sure that you're covering the metrics that are going to drive your AEO and your GEO forward too, just so you stay relevant and can compete with your customers that haven't even thought about that yet. And the third thing is, again, just keeping the most open mind you can to the technology and following where it's going every day. Every 3 or 4 days, there's a major change. And if you're at that leadership level, you need to be on top of that first and
Mhm.
then trickle it down to your people to have them to be as empowered as possible. So again, just the most important thing is following all of the trade documents and saying, okay, what's the newest language model? What's the advantage to it? How can it benefit us? And where should I invest my company's dollars and not do it blindly? Make sure you're putting it in the right places and getting it to the right employees.
Hmm.
Yeah, what do you think if, let's say you're running a mid-sized company in our space in like skincare and devices and whatnot? What would be the best use of, your advice? Like, because I've always been in sales, right? My instinct is to say, we need to bring Dan in and have him train our marketing team to, first of all, optimize all this stuff, optimize AEO, GEO, make sure we're up to speed on our SEO and all the traditional stuff too. But then integrate our data into the rest of our systems, right? Like, so is that the best use of like your expertise if you're running a medium or small company, like, um, or does it look like something else? Like, what do you think is most effective?
That's a good start. And again, it's kind of different for every company. I know with Skin Better, we had an amazing team of salespeople, and they'd be in the med spas and doctors' offices regularly. And if you can educate your salespeople on your product, but also the tools that are out there that can help them sell the product better. One of the things that I'd be doing right now for my sales teams would be saying, get your customers to start using kind of transcription devices and make sure that they have something that's HIPAA compliant, that they can record their interaction with their customer, that
Mm,
doesn't go out to the cloud, that they can transcribe in office, and then use to make a really good follow-up email and to keep really good charting. Because I've been to plenty of doctors' offices where they give you great advice, but then they only chart some of it. And then when you come back the next time, it's like they have amnesia from what they told you. So for them to be able to have something that gives them kind of perfect memory, and then that tool could be used to give better product recommendations and say, you know what, this would be the best regimen for you. I mean, having your sales team educate the doctors on that end, they're not going to get that education anywhere else. So, and then that's more data that they can kind of maybe anonymize and share with you and say, this is what our patients are really looking for based out of 100 visits. This is what people are asking for the most. And they don't have to give you any information that violates HIPAA, but they can say, again, through our data, this is what we've seen as the trend. And then you can trickle that down to the marketing department to put better products out there, and maybe trickle it down to the research and development team to say, these are the
right.
products that there's kind of a gap in our product line.
Hmm.
Right. So like, what's that? There's like a little stick recorder that you can clip onto like magnets onto your phone, and you can just record a conversation
Yeah.
The
and
Plod,
transcribe
the
I
it.
was
Plod Note
gonna.
Plot.
Pro, and I use it daily. It is an amazing tool. And but the way that I use it's a little bit different. So I use the Plod, but I use it just as a recording device, and then I bring it back to my computer, and then I use a local model called Parakeet to take the audio file and transcribe it for me rather than sending it out to the Plod cloud. That way, any of the conversations that I've had with somebody, they stay private. And they're not just going to become a data commodity to the Plod at the end of the day, because yeah, they're going to give you 300 minutes a month for free for them to do the transcription for you, but nothing's free. They're going to take that information maybe and use it. And maybe they agree that they won't do that now, but maybe in 2 years they get bought out by somebody who doesn't hold up to those agreements. So keeping your data private is the most important thing, but using tools like that are still incredibly valuable if you're smart with how you use them.
That makes sense. You could train your salespeople, you could train your customers, you know,
Yes.
train your own technology to help you better. Makes sense. Then I guess theoretically, if you just recorded it up to, the cloud or whatever, like the plot, like non-privately, right? Theoretically, someone could come back, like a competitor could come behind you and buy that information, right?
That's right.
Yeah,
I mean,
that
I've
could be
seen
a little
companies
scary.
spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on marketing reports, and the companies that they're spending that with have really great sources. And I don't know where those sources are coming from, but they get some insights that are pretty crazy that make it seem like it's justifiable to spend six figures on a report.
Right. Interesting.
It's definitely a new world.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So I'm thinking, I'm already seeing people training their sales team through transcription and like role playing and pulling the best answers and the best mistakes from those conversations and then turning them into like training modules, and it's really pretty sophisticated. Like
Absolutely.
we have a client, Genera, I'll mention by name since I've been mentioning lots of names, but this is a positive way. They've got a one of their KOLs, they have a virtual version of their KOL, and you can ask her clinical questions that are very well vetted through real clinical
Yeah.
conversations. And the more you ask it, the more intelligent it gets. So you can
Mhm.
still pick up the phone and call somebody and still call that doctor. But if odds are she's in a surgery herself, like she's a busy plastic surgeon, you can go in and ask her something really important to the procedure and get a really good answer from it. It's amazing. And they're training their reps that way too.
No, that sounds like a great tool, but I'd still want an operator to sit behind the scenes and look at the transcripts that come through and make sure that it's giving good information. And I'd also think that there should be kind of a button that if a customer isn't comfortable with that, they can say, you know what, I don't want to talk to the machine. I want to talk to a person, and have somebody teed up and ready to kind of be the human in between for that tool and then that patient, where they can say, all right, I'm actually talking to a person. I feel a little bit more comfortable, because it's sometimes really off putting for a person to have to talk to a machine. Even if they're getting great information, they still might just kind of feel a little weirded out that I don't know where my information's going. I still want to just talk to a person.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, it's great for learning and great for triaging because sometimes the right person is just not here for you right now. But this can kind of give you some advice and kind of close the gap right now, so you're not just hanging there learning nothing. But you can at least say, "Hey, we've got your message, and our doctor is going to call you soon. But in the meantime, try this, this, and this." And that's super valuable.
Absolutely.
I just it's got to be fun if you're a salesperson. Like if you were like me 20 years ago, and I had these kind of tools, so that I'm not having so many back and forth instructional conversations with people. Like imagine how much that would free you up to just sell, right?
Exactly. You could double
Like
your territory and still service them just as well.
right, and like even
Exactly.
better, like before you get that monthly report with an alarm on it where you're like, "Ooh, that customer hasn't ordered in 2 months. Yikes." Now it's probably too late, but if you had, somebody driving it to say, I mean, you're out in the field and you get an alert on your phone that says, "You need to pull over and go see Doctor So and so while you're in the neighborhood." I mean, it's kind of
That
big brother, but it's also like super helpful.
Absolutely. And you still, again, have to have that person out on the field who's going to have that one-on-one relationship with that
Yeah.
customer to say,
yeah.
hey,
Right.
how are your kids doing? I know Johnny's getting
Yeah,
ready to
right.
graduate college or whatever. Then the robot's never going to do that. So being able to,
No.
again, have that human element to it to say, we have the same likes, when I like your watch or I like your dress, those types of things really help sales more than people realize.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very true.
It's a fun time to be alive.
I
Absolutely.
know. What is one thing that new entrepreneurs can do right now to take advantage? Like, what is like maybe one or two platforms or agents or I don't know that you think is like so super helpful? for a new business or a new entrepreneur?
Really, if I had to pick one, Opus 4.7 is absolutely unbelievable. And the whole suite of Claude tools, from Claude Design to Claude Code, they're all absolutely amazing. And if they're a little bit more technical, being able to use Agent Harness, something like OpenClaw, to start using all of the tools together, if they have the budget for it and the willingness to set up a whole computer to run it on, that's also kind of levels everything up from there. So yeah, there's just, if I started with one thing, I would just look at the Anthropic suite of tools that are available. And if I wanted to up level that, again, using a harness that could then use all of the tools and figure out, okay, I'm going to turn this out into 3 sub agents, and I'm going to be a little bit more cost efficient and use this with the batch API so I can save 50% of the compute cost to get it done in 30 minutes instead of 30 seconds.
Nice.
So you just,
Well,
well, I can,
I
oh,
was
go
gonna
ahead.
say, then tying it back into the human component, the thing that I'm learning through our Matrix projects is now you have people like Dan who their 40-hour week is now so much more productive that you're able to get done in 4 hours what you used to be able to do in 40. Well, now that then frees up people like Dan for fractional advice and fractional leadership. So if you are a entrepreneur, like Cindy, like you mentioned, like, okay, these are the necessary tools you need. You need the Anthropic suite, like get involved in that, learn it, right? But then also everyone is so much more productive now that you can get your company up and running with fractional experts, right? Like Dan, because they're so much more productive now and they can cross consult with you on the tools, right? Like that's amazing. Like if you would have asked me 5 years ago, could you be running like 7 income streams at one time? I'd be like, no, that's crazy impossible. I can barely handle the one I have. Well, now you can kind of do it. I mean, you can do it,
Yeah.
right?
Absolutely. And
You
that's
can
why I
start a
kind of
company with
pivoted
like,
into fractional consulting.
yeah, absolutely. Well,
No, it's a lot easier
now,
and it's a lot more fulfilling because I don't get bored. When you're at one company and you're just dealing with that stuff day in and day out, sure, maybe 2 days a week you're doing something that's actually moving the needle, but then you're just kind of spinning your wheels 3 days a week. You're sitting through endless meetings that are kind of going nowhere. You're talking about KPI dashboards for 90 minutes of every day, and it's not really actually doing anything. Now I can kind of put my
yes,
focus into several different clients and make sure that what I'm doing, maybe I'm only working 2 to 4 hours a day, 5 days a week, but
right
I'm
on.
actually moving the needle every one of those minutes that I'm doing something. And I'm not just sitting there spinning my wheels, wasting time in endless meetings.
Love that. Well, and that is part of that kind of shock that people are going through right now is because, there's a lot of nothing happening at companies, like a lot of unproductiveness, right? And it makes you nervous and you're like,
Yeah.
oh, yes, there's going to be some shakeup there. If you're like, if your job is super redundant, you might lose that job, but it's not necessary anymore. But it's not too late to pivot and go back and like look at, okay, because I was, we've been there, sales director at a company where you're like, at the end of the day, how much time a week am I spent moving the needle with actual sales? And it's way, way too little, right? So
Mhm.
now's the opportunity to kind of
Mhm.
refocus your energy, dump all that stuff that's, those KPI dashboards are great, but what are we doing? Right? Like go out, meet some people and sell them your product. Bring in experts like Dan and Cindy in here to help you streamline.
Yeah.
Exactly. There's no end of the value of being out there and actually networking with people. Use some of that free time to join a club with something that you're interested in. I go out every couple of months with a group of Porsche owners and we do drives all over the state of Arizona. And the people
Nice.
that you meet in that are so
What X?
diverse and you just get such a richer experience by, again, spending a day with people that you'd otherwise have nothing in common with except the car that you drive. So yeah, doing that can really open up a lot of sales opportunities for people without actually going out there and being a pushy salesperson.
Yeah. Well, that's really cool. Yeah. That's fun. I mean, that's kind of like, Justin and I's goal for why we're doing what we're doing on our own is so that we can, number one, enjoy what we do, but also, when we're working, it's actually purposeful work. We're not just trying to kill time and then, you know, so hopefully
I have
now with
not.
Dan's help, that's
Yeah,
gonna become even better because Justin and I have been we've been in business what now 4 months since we really started, which kind of was like in January.
November-ish. Yeah,
And
like
yeah, it was more February,
yeah,
but sometimes, when you're running a business, you kind of feel like, oh, I'm not doing enough. But when you really think about it, it's only been what, 3 to 4 months.
gosh, we've
We put
done.
together a
Yeah,
podcast.
no, we've
We
done
have
more.
consistent.
We got 9 independent contractors hired today, or offer letters out to
Mm,
9 people. But it's 9
yeah.
potentially life-changing opportunities for people and for our clients, right? So, like, our clients are on both sides. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, we've gotten more accomplished in this little amount of time than ever. And you mentioned being bored at work. Like, I haven't been bored yet since we started Matrix. Like
Yeah.
I don't even envision what that would look like. Like, we're not bored at all. We're busy and we're having fun. Like
Yeah.
helping people and
So the
and
landscape's
launching.
changed. It used to be pre-COVID, you were really either chained to your cubicle or your office 40 to 60 hours a week. And if you weren't putting in the hours, the work wasn't getting done and you'd lose your job. And you were just terrified that if you didn't clock in by 8:30, if you were supposed to be there by 9, somebody was going to see that time clock and they were going to hold it against you. And again, post-COVID, that's really shifted. A lot of people started working from home and weren't actually working. Or some people
Yes.
were working from home and getting more done because they had fewer distractions, but they lost that human interaction from their coworkers. So now we've
Mm-hmm.
just got to, again, adapt and evolve to our new reality. And it's actually more efficient if you do it right. And the people that are winning bigger because they're embracing the changes, they're embracing the tools, and they're saying, you know what, this is kind of a better way to live. And I can be a productive employee doing 30 to 40 hours a week that used to be a 60-hour week and
Yeah.
really focus on what matters.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and so much time is wasted. And that's why like a lot of the companies who feel that like doing, return to office is like the solution, but it's, depending on the company, it may not be. Because you have people just sitting there, they're filling seats, but are they being productive? A lot of the times, like, no.
Corporate
Yeah,
real
the
estate's
the
expensive. So we're having a
Yeah.
hybrid
yeah.
approach where people come in and then also having mixers where people can do social activities together. It may seem kind of counterintuitive, but the closer your team can just relate with each other, it's incredibly valuable. But it doesn't have to be a everyday 9 to 5 situation. So just trying to figure out
Exactly.
where that hybrid medium is the most valuable thing. And the most successful companies I've seen right now are hybrid models. They're the ones
Yeah.
that are
Yeah.
maybe coming into the office 1 or 2 days a week, but doing outings and saying, you know what, we're taking a corporate retreat and we're going to go do this for 3 or 4 days where we're not even going to worry about the work, but we're going to worry about getting to know each other on a human level.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Oh, so we're at time. Like it's been over an hour. This has
All
been
right.
great. A lot of really helpful information. So yeah, listeners, if you need Dan, check contact us at you can find our email or contact us on matrixcollective.com, matrix without the I. Or, you could just find us. I'll need to start including our email in the notes and we'll get you connected with Dan. And also we'll include in the notes his website as well. So you can get
And we need
access
to
to
get
him.
optimized. We need to get optimized with Dan. Just
I know
so
we need your help to get everything optimized.
I'm here for you guys. Definitely happy to
ask
help anywhere I
Claude.
can.
Ask Claude, how can I start a business and get rich in the next 5 years? And it will lead you directly to Matrix and to Dan. So we're gonna make
Exactly.
that happen
Wait.
somehow.
Exactly.
Great.
All
Thank you, Dan.
right.
It was super great information. Yeah.
Yeah, it was great meeting you, Justin, and great talking to you again, Cindy.
Remember to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. We appreciate